Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar on the equation of success. And this is obviously about my new book on basically what the title suggests is about how an individual, you, me, anyone can actually pick himself up from where we are and make ourselves super successful. And as the first thing that I'm always asked by a lot of people when it comes to talking about something like the equation of success, a lot of people ask me that success is so difficult to achieve and there's so much that you can actually fail with. And on the other hand, I'm talking about this being a simple equation that anybody can pick up in his life. And the question that comes up to me, and which I'm asked very often, is it really so simple? As I say in my book, is there really an equation? And my counter answer to that is in the form of this question that you can see on your screen, where I ask people this, that what does the look at the lives of all great people show you? If you start looking at the lives of great people across hundreds of years, and also the lives of great people who are creating the news and taking humankind forward today, the kind of people who are in our generations on their own journeys, on their own paths to success and greatness, what does it show you? If you start analyzing things around that, and if you start actually building your complete process or perspective on the basis of looking at these stories, you will start identifying certain aspects if you do it intelligently. And as I always tell people, that suppose you're going in a valley and you see someone who's on top of a mountain, on top of the mountain which is next to you. What do you realize? One, that he's on top of the mountain and you are in the valley, and of course the second, which is the more important realization, that if he's got there from the valley, there must be a path to the top. It's that path that I'm talking about here. It's that path which I've detailed in great details in this book, where the objective, I've seen in my own life over the last 20 years or so of training people, I came across a lot of people at a very critical point of their lives. And over a period of time of getting the experience of training and using the brain that or the analysis level that I had, being an IIM Bangalore graduate, a lot of things started falling into place, and I could actually start predicting behavioral processes and the connection with success. And it's that connection that I've talked about in this book, which I hope you will read. And based on the feedback that I'm getting from my initial readers, the book is just out a month in the market now, and the initial readers are all talking about that they are reading it and rereading it because it's teaching them so much. So anyway, the time that we are going to spend here, the next 40-45 minutes that we are going to spend together, I'm trying to detail this equation in as clear way as possible. Of course, it's not possible to put everything that you have written in a book, which will take you around 8-10 hours to read, in a 1 hour framework, but I'll try to do the best that I can in that context here. So let's start with this contention, or let's start with this presupposition that okay, maybe there's actually an equation, and let me start showing you the components of this equation as we move on from this point. So the way I've detailed it inside the book is that I call it a simple 6-step equation of success. There are specific, and it's a sequential equation. It's not something which is, and I'm quite sure a lot of you have heard components of this from different people, from different motivational texts, etc. But what was missing in what I've seen around the world in terms of the kind of books that are available, the kind of advisory that is available, is that nobody has actually done it in the sequential form. And when I was trying to write this book, when I started writing, My publishers were asking this question that you are already doing so well in the cat segment, you're number one in the country in the cat segment, and the books are huge bestsellers over the last decade or so. And the question was, why this book? And why do you want to write this book? And before I tried to answer that question to my publishers, McGraw-Hill, I was asking that question to myself also. Why am I writing this book? And the answer was very simple. I mean, the answer that came back to me in my own mind was very simple. I was writing this book because I had learned something about the process of creating success. And I realized that anybody, any person, any individual can actually pick himself up from wherever he is and put himself on the path of super success in today's world. The kind of opportunities which are available, anybody can do it. And that information, if I am going to store it inside my mind and not give it out to the world, I thought it was an injustice to what I had learned. And as a teacher, as a trainer, I actually wanted to speak out to as many people as possible. So when I started writing this book, one thing was very clear. I did not want to write a Me Too product, a product which was, or stuff which was rehashed version of so many other books. So when my publishers asked me this question, why are you writing this book? I had already answered it in my mind, and the answer was clear. I'm writing this book because I've got something new to give. I'm writing this book because I have something new to teach. And I'm writing this book because I have something new to offer. And from the initial response that I'm getting from the readers and people who are appreciating what they're reading inside it, and I'm quite sure a lot of you will also give me that feedback once you start using it, what has come out as a consistent pattern is that it's actually giving a lot of clear instructions, as you'll see as we move on to this webinar further and onto my slideshow, that the clarity of instructions, a lot of people can motivate you, but the idea of this book is to give you a clear picture of what you need to do. Because unless you do things, just motivation per se lasts a few days, as you will realize. So what is this 6-step equation of success, and where do you fail? Can we try to have a clear metric about ourselves? Can we, if I'm failing at something, if you are failing at something, can you actually break it down into, okay, this is the component which is not working for me? I believe you can, and that's what I'm talking about here. And as I go through, you will also realize the clarity of this equation in terms of the to-dos. Of course, as I said at the start of the webinar, I cannot do it for I cannot put in all the content that I've put inside the book into a 1-hour lecture, but I'll try to do my best so that you get something out of this workshop, out of this webinar that we're doing, and hopefully you can go on to read the book and make the difference that you need in your own lives. So let's move on from this point, and let's look at this equation. So where does it start? So this is the first point when it comes to the starting of this equation. The realization that your answers lie within you. Unfortunately, what happens is most of us are aligned to the world, and because the senses dominate our minds all the times. So what happens in our lives is that we are so dominated, and our minds are so dominated by what's happening around us. All the 5 senses are sensing things from outside and feeding our mind continuously, that we forget to start looking inside. And you know the biggest advantage of starting to look inside, and I'm quite sure a lot of people must have told you, and this is not where the book is differentiated or my ideas are differentiated, but this is definitely the starting point. The answers lie within. And you know why you should start looking inside? Because if you look at the great people, the really successful people, you'll find a very strong pattern in them, in the way they work. And their work pattern is this, that what they do is they define something. When they pick up a task, when they pick up a challenge, they define it inside their mind as to how it's going to happen. And once they define it in their minds as to how it is going to happen, they actually go out and do it in the world. So the moment you start realizing this, or the moment you start creating this balance inside your own life, that if I can define to myself how I'm going to do something, and then go out and execute in the world, your future challenges become easy, because when you pick up something audacious, when you pick up something big, something redefinitional for yourself, when you start doing that, you're automatically starting to ask yourself this question: do I have a resolution of this in my mind? Suppose you are a student and you see yourself, okay, I want to be at Harvard or a Stanford or an IIM Ahmedabad. Suppose you are an executive and you want to say that, okay, I'm 25, 27 years old. Can I become CEO of this company at 40? When you pick up those audacious challenges, if you can define it inside your mind and make it happen in the world, because there's a way to do it, you automatically start getting a lot of power. I'll give you a small example of this. I was doing this workshop with some NSS volunteers at a college a few years ago. And these kids were not educationally very, very advanced. So it was kind of a rural setting. And there were around 30-40 kids of NSS sitting in that session. And I asked this question of them, that has anybody here tasted success in life? And everybody kept quiet and started looking at each other. And there was this boy, whom I still remember, who was sitting at the back of the room, and he raised his hand. When he raised his hand, I asked him, everybody started looking at him obviously, and I asked him, what success have you created in your life? His answer shocked the audience. His answer was that I got 61% in class 12th. Everybody started laughing, because 61% class 12th, as you know, is not success by any definition. And when everybody started laughing, I allowed the moment to pass, and then I asked them this question: do you think that is success? Everybody said no, we don't think it is success. I said I would like to differ on that. And then I talked to that guy and I told him, I've never met you before, and perhaps we'll never meet again in this life. But I know one thing, that why you're calling it a success is because of 2-3 reasons. You must have tried to get a first division in class 10th. He said, yes sir. You failed at it. He said, yes sir. When you were going for your class 12th exam, your target, your challenge you picked up was that you are going to get a first division. He said, yes sir. And you got it. He said, yes sir. And I said, I will define this as a success, because what has happened in his mind is that he has learnt that if he decides to do something, it happens in the world. So it's just a matter for this person, for this boy, to start picking up larger challenges, because he started proving it to himself. So this is the definition of success. And the moment you can make your success only depend on what you do and the way you think and the way you work. If you make your success and your achievement of success completely dependent on yourself and not dependent on external factors, you get immense power, because inside you can change anything. If I want to change anything inside myself, I've got complete power to do it. If I want to change anything in the way I think, if I want to change anything in the way I work, if I want to do anything in the way I analyze what I do, I have got complete power over it. On the other hand, if I want to change the room around me, I cannot. It's not within my powers. Or at least it requires a lot of external support to do it. So success starts from understanding this power, and from understanding the power that lies inside you. I'm quite sure you've heard this in a lot of places, but I've given this perspective because this is where it starts from. And this is the final equation you're going to reach when you talk about success. It's going to happen in the world 6 months later because it's happened in my mind today. The moment you create that and you make it independent of everything else around, you are on your way. And this is the first step. Right? So we move on. I'll take questions towards the end of the webinar. Let me complete this part. And we move on to the second part, which is, once you decide this, The second component of this equation is the ability or the propensity or the habit of picking audacious challenges. Now, we all pick challenges in our lives, but that's where I have identified the first problem. Of course, the first problem was that people are driven only by external events and nobody gets hold of his own powers inside him. And once you start realizing that, this is the second component, the logic or the propensity, as I said, of picking challenges, and not just challenges, picking audacious challenges. So if you're challenged, so if I ask you this question, what do I mean by this? Let's come to that. We'll keep going towards that. But before we get there, if I ask you your question, a question to ask inside you, I don't want answers here in chats, but if I ask you to analyze yourself and ask you this question, what challenges have you picked up in your own life? So I being in a career where I train so many students every year and I meet so many people, I can tell you the typical Indian student, the typical Indian young professional, his challenges in life were typically divided into score well in class 10th, score well in class 12th, score well in engineering or whatever course you did in college, get into a decent job, and you are set for life. And if your challenge history or your challenge structure has been like that, you are basically heading towards a life of mediocrity and nameless, faceless life. If you want to change something, see, nothing will happen in your life unless you start trying to do something. And you'll realize this, that all great people will always pick up challenges which are audacious and go after them. This is the first step of doing things, right? Second step of the equation, but the first step we actually start changing what is to happen. The realizing that the power is inside you and all that, that's fine. That's more philosophical also. I agree, but this is the first concrete change that you have to bring into your life. The propensity, I call it. In fact, in my own life, I have made it into a compulsive. I call it a compulsive, obsessive, challenge-seeking disorder. And the moment you realize great people have this, so I have talked about examples in my book. You talk about Roger Federer. At the age of 32, 33, he is fading away. 3 years ago, he was fading away from tennis. He was one of the greatest ever. And he picks up his challenge that I want to become number one again, and does it. You talk about a Sachin Tendulkar, 2006, 2007, the worst phase of his career. People like Ian Chappell talking about that he should retire. People telling him that you need a push now. And he telling himself that no, I want to get back to the nets, I want to get practice, and I've got 5-6 years more. And having some of his best years. If you look at Sachin Tendulkar's career, 2010 was his best year in Test match cricket, which at the age of 37, 38, when most batsmen would have retired. So you'll see this propensity in all great people, the ability to pick up or the propensity to pick up audacious challenges, and that's what you need to start doing. So make your challenge audacious. And how do you pick up audacious challenges? And this is where the book starts differing, where I talk about first what I observe in these lives of these great people, and then how do you bring it into your own life. That's the important component, which I hope I have covered in this book, and my readers tell me that we have actually done it. So there are two ways to pick up audacious challenges. As you can see, you can either look at upgrading your targets, or you can look at taking up a new challenge. So if you are trying to lose weight, you are saying that okay, I want to lose 5 kilos of weight. Change the target, upgrade it to 20 kilos. That's audacious. So if you have been overweight lately, 20 kilos of weight loss makes it a complete change to how you look and how you feel and your health also. Right? So upgrade your targets and what you are doing. You are a 70 percenter in college, make it an 80-85%. Don't look for 72. Look for 80, 85. Find out what people do and go after it. Find out what the 85%ers do and go after it. And we can do this in our own lives. There are so many things we all involved in. There are so many things we all live our lives with, where we are facing our own lives. So you're talking about, let's say, if you're running a business and you are going ahead with let's say 10%, 15% growth rate of your business, set an audacious target in that. Raise the target, raise the bar, go to 50%. Why can't you grow at 50% per year? 50% per year, 3 years, you are tripling your turnover. 10% per year, you're just going to 1.5 times in 3 years. You are a corporate executive, you're working somewhere, raise your bar, raise your bar. Go for 20% growth rate in your career. 10% growth rate every year, which is the industry standard, will keep you in the middle class and thereabouts and the middle levels of management right through your life. You will not become a CEO of a company at 40 if you're going at 10% rate of growth. Break that barrier. Can you design a 30% growth rate into your career? And as I said, there are two ways. You can also take on a new challenge. So you are in a corporate job, 5 years of experience. Pick up a challenge of changing who you are. Take on a challenge of a higher education. Why can't you study at Harvard? Why can't you study at Stanford? There are people like you and me who go there. Why can't you study at Ann? People like you and me go there. Right? So two ways. There are two ways basically to do this, picking challenges. So look into your lives and you'll find those answers. Each one of us will find those answers. What should be my audacious challenges? Discipline, focus, all these things come after that. Nothing will happen to a person who's not trying to do anything. So why do we talk about Mahatma Gandhi being great? Because he picked up a challenge of convincing the Britishers to leave India. And why he became great was because he succeeded. Why do you talk about Sachin Tendulkar being great? Why Virat Kohli? Look at Virat Kohli. 2011, 2012, I think 2 months ago when the Indian cricket team was going to the West Indies to play the Test series, if you read the press conference, you'll see this DNA in him. You'll see this exact DNA in him. In that press conference, Virat Kohli says, just go back to that press conference before the West Indies series. He says that in 2011, I decided that I'll become the best batsman in the world. Audacious challenge. A young guy like him, just entering or maybe having established himself at a certain level in world cricket, tells himself that I want to use this opportunity to springboard myself to become the best batsman in the world. 3 years later, he does it. He does everything that requires to be done. Because what happens when you start picking up audacious challenges versus if your challenges are low? So giving an example, if you're working towards a 10% growth rate, your work, your planning, your entire focus will adjust itself to do 10%. But if you push yourself for 50% growth, for 30% growth, the work you will do will push you towards it. You'll push yourself to do more work to achieve it. Right? Of course, this is not the only component, so I need to move on. And the next part of the equation of success, as you can see, is of course is to organize your belief system once you have picked up your challenge. Of course, one more aspect of this, of picking up challenge, is that once you pick up the challenge, you make it non-negotiable for yourself. Don't give yourself options. The moment you stop giving yourself options, you will again of not succeeding in what you pick up. The moment you do that, you'll suddenly start realizing that things actually start changing in a different perspective, in a different way for you. So once you have done that, so you pick up a challenge, the next step, the third component of this equation, is to organize your belief system. Is to organize the beliefs, whether the beliefs match you or do not match. So if I pick up a challenge that I want to become the greatest tennis player in the world, and I don't have the skills to do it, obviously my beliefs are not going to support me. right? So getting your beliefs organized becomes the next part of the equation, right? Of course, I've written details about what beliefs are, etc., which I'll not get into now because we will be short of time if I start doing that. But broadly speaking, if once you check your belief system, if you're trying to pick up something, so just so a student who says, okay, I'm getting 70%, I want to get 85, just because he's picked up that challenge and inside him he's not believing it that he can do it, it's not going to happen, right? So you will need to change that belief in case your belief is not matching. If your belief is telling you that, okay, I picked up this challenge but I'm not going to do it, it's not within me to do this, the outcome is going to be failure. And a lot of people fail because they never pick up challenges, but then there are a lot of people who do pick up challenges and fail because the beliefs don't match what they've picked up. So my perspective in this context is that when something like that happens and if the beliefs are not matching, as this slide tells you, the only option is to change the beliefs. Don't allow them to run a free hand with this. And I've talked about this in the book, that there are two systems through which you change beliefs. So to understand the process of changing beliefs, you need to understand how beliefs got formed. And beliefs get formed because we get certain, what do you say? You can talk about it, that we get certain feedback along the way as we keep going. So if I believe that I've not been a good student right through my school and college, it's not going to change just because I tell myself, okay, I want to become a good student. So what will have to happen is you'll have to start showing yourself evidence against the belief. So for example, for a very long time in my own life, my belief about myself as a public speaker was very poor. And given the fact that I spend on an average 4 to 5 hours speaking publicly every day, nothing of my career would have built if that belief had not changed. And where does the belief come from? It comes from experiences that you had, from feedback that you have, from results that you have had in the past when you tried to do something like that. So what you need to do, the basic system to change beliefs is that you need to show evidence against it. So if you think that you want to get to an 85% from a 70%, that's a quantum jump for you. And you start focusing on the fact, okay, let me show myself by doing one great chapter. Let me challenge myself to do one great page. One page, as my knowledge should be as good as the best student on that. Right? So the moment you start showing yourself opposite evidence to the belief, you start changing your beliefs. And when you want to create this opposite evidence, there are two systems. One kind of situation, for example, suppose I have a belief that I can't run the marathon. What is required is basically persistence and perseverance. If I can be persistent, perseverant and consistent with what I do, it is just a matter of, suppose I can run 2 kilometers, my target should start increasing to 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 6, 8, and that way one fine day, my next challenge will be 42 kilometers. And as long as I'm persistent with it, I'll get my outcomes. So there are a lot of other beliefs like that which involve just persistence and perseverance. But then there are other beliefs which involve learning. So if you can't swim, persistence and perseverance is not going to make a difference. Of course, you will need to get into the water and you need to start to learn. Because you can't create opposite evidence to I can't swim unless you learn how to swim. So that's the next component. Then the fourth component of the equation, which talks about learning. And this is the biggest challenge for each one of us. You know, when we go through a school, when we go through a college, when we go through our initial years, and I've talked about this in the book again, in our initial years of life, our life was full of learning because every day was a learning experience. So for a 2-year-old child, every day is a learning experience. But what is he learning about? He's broadly learning about how to use his body. It's basically the first 3 years of life is where you get your main physical learning, which will keep you alive for the next 50, 60, 70 years, and whatever life you're going to live. And the moment you move out of that first 3-year phase and you go to school and you start hitting school, the next 5, 7, 10, 12 years in school, there are two components of the learning that you do. You have your structured learning, which is the subjects that you'll start learning in school, and you have your social learning. That means you start getting your first experiences of society and what social interactions are all about. So you start learning those things. But the moment you start hitting your school to college, and then you move out of college, you suddenly enter a situation where your learning is dependent only on yourself. And when you reach that point, most of us, because there is no instruction available, never understand what to learn and how to learn. So the biggest question as an adult, once we start hitting real life, is what should I learn and how do I learn it? So if I can teach myself to work the way Satya Nadella worked in the corporate sector, in the IT sector, why will I not get the same result? So if I'm in a valley, starting off as an IT consultant or as an IT professional, and I see a Satya Nadella who's reached the top of Microsoft on the basis of a career that started out of a private engineering college, you go back to the same logic that I told you, that if somebody is on top of the mountain, there is a way. You obviously realize there is a way, and if there's a way, there's going to be somebody else who's going to reach that. And I often ask people this question. The question I want to ask you, maybe, which you can answer in your own mind. If I ask you this question, who is the CEO of Microsoft? You'll all give me the answer. But I change the perspective of this question and ask you, who is the CEO of Microsoft? And we are in the year 2045. 25, 30 years from now, who's going to be the CEO of Microsoft? It's going to be somebody who's right now, given the fact that a Microsoft CEO might be a 45, 50-year-old person at that time. So 30 years later, somebody is going to get to that point and that guy is 16 to 20 years old today. And there's a way, there's a path. Can you learn to get to that path? So what to learn becomes the biggest challenge. So I often, again, I ask people this question to drive home the point, that when you are in class 8 in school, and instead of that when you were in class 5 in school, how much was the difference of learning you had from class 5 to class 8? As a class 5 student, what did you know? And as a class 8 student, what did you know? What was your learning? And you'll all realize that as class 5 students to class 8 students, there was huge difference in what we knew and the way we thought, right? And then I ask you this question, that once you have become a professional or once you have reached college, what is the difference between when you were in first year college to fourth year college in terms of your knowledge? What is the difference when you were 22 years old and 25 years old in terms of your knowledge and awareness and skills? And you'll suddenly start realizing that your learning has kind of stopped. So the systems to learn, what to learn becomes a big issue. Of course, I am not going to get into all those things because we don't have the time here. But I do want to leave you with this question, that how do you find what to learn? Is there a process? Can it be structured? Can it be structured? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are my 5 ways in which I'm going to look inside myself to understand what to learn. Can I start picking up? So you'll start realizing when you come to how to learn, that most of what we learn in adult life is by copying other people. It's called role modeling. So what kind of role modeling are you doing? What kind of people are you modeling yourself on? Are you able to find out what the best guys do and repeat that? Because if I get if I'm a 5-year-old boy and I get onto the tennis court and I start hitting a tennis ball, and if I can repeat everything that Roger Federer did for 20 years, I'll become him. Nobody stops me. If you do what the champion did, you will become a champion. It's as simple as that. So coming back, of course, once the learning aspect is out of the way, which was the fourth aspect, right, of the equation, comes the last two, which is action. And ultimately, as you all know, the greatest talents, the greatest skills, the greatest learners in the world will all go waste if action does not match what you deserve to get. Because in life, one thing you need to understand, and this is the most important component of this equation. One thing you need to understand is action is the most critical aspect of the great people. Your best laid plans, your best learning experience, everything goes waste if you do not act on what you have planned to. The critical differentiator, the biggest differentiator in the great people and the average guys is the ability to execute action. And when it comes to action, there are two dimensions. One is, as we know, when we act on a day-to-day basis, each one of us, each one of you, 99% of what actions we take on a daily basis are driven by habit. The way you work towards your goal, the way you organize yourself in the day. So when you talk about actions and you don't focus on changing your habits, it does not make sense. It's not going to work. So there are two aspects when it comes to action, and there are two aspects which you need to manage for yourself. The first dimension of action is habits and holding on to your correct habits. And the second one is, of course, executing excellence. So these are the last two components. And of course, in details, you'll get it in the book, because as I'm repeatedly saying, it's not possible to put in everything in that perspective here. So when you talk about habits, let's go into an analysis of habits. Habits can be positive, negative, which I call self-defeating, or neutral. So obviously the positive habits are powerful. They are what you hold on to with all your might. But it's the negative self-defeating habits that are actually impeding you. So do you have a habit of being impetuous? Do you have a habit of being sad all the time? Do you have a habit of living in the past? Do you have a habit of getting overexcited? Do you have a habit of living in the future? Do you have a habit of getting angry? Whatever. So when you talk about habits, what are habits? Habit is either a repeated, and this is my definition of habits inside my book. Daniel Goleman, in his book, The Emotional Intelligence book, talks about habits being the most practiced response. And what you need to understand, I often get this feedback from people that I am mostly a slave of my habits, because I cannot do something any other way, because I've done it the same way through my entire life. And I tell them this, that if you think that you've been doing something forever, please realize that you've not lived forever. Then how can you do something forever? So when you pick up a challenge, now when I'm talking about habits here, you need to make sure that you need to focus. I say, as trying to become a better person is fine, and you can always keep doing that. But here we are talking about, when you're talking about achieving success, we need to talk about those specific habits that are impeding your performance. So for example, if you're taking a competitive exam and you had a habit of cracking under pressure, you simply cannot allow that habit to continue, because skill wise you'll have to go 10 levels above the normal person in case you want, if you're going to allow that habit to continue, and that much learning might not be possible for you, right? So what I talk about and what I want to tell you about is that if you are saddled with a habit which is going to impede the achievement of your success, if that's going to happen, then you have two options to get over it. Willpower and focus, and the insertion of willpower into the situation will help you control the habit. But the longer term solution is to change the habit, right? And there are many thought processes which talk about the fact that habits are not eternal and they can be changed, and you yourself know that. But is there a process for habitual change? The answer is of course yes. If you go by the definition that habit is something which is the most practiced response, if you go by the definition that habit is something which is the most practiced response in a situation, then automatically, if you practice something opposite to that, you will change your habit, and you'll have to practice it more times than others. There are other advisories which I've talked about in the book, that it takes 21 days to change a habit. Suppose you have a habit of getting up late in the morning, and that's impeding your challenges. How many days do you need to change that habit? You need 21 days of getting up early, and something which has been a non-productive habit for you for your entire life will change. And why habits become so critical is because, as I said, 99% of what we do in our daily basis is driven by habits, and controlling them all the time becomes difficult. Change your habit, change your life. It's as simple as that. So of course I've given a very detailed structure of how habits can be changed, etc. inside the book. And that brings me to the last component, and this is the ultimate one, which talks about action in the here and now. Right? And I'm reaching the end of my presentation, the last couple of slides, but I believe that this is the most important. So people ask me this question about time management. How should we manage time? So I've talked about 4 dimensions that the great people are very aware of their goal times. So when you pick up a challenge, you are defining a time for it. Okay, I want to change this. Suppose I want to change my view of myself as a student or myself as an executive at this level. I want to change my view of that. You are defining yourself. Okay, I'm giving myself a year to do it. So there are 4 dimensions to timings, to the time frames you need to manage in your life. And I call it time structuring rather than time management. One is your goal times. So what are your audacious challenges and how long are you giving yourself for it? Suppose you are deciding to get slim. How much time are you giving yourself to get there? Are you doing it in 6 months? Are you doing it in 1 year? Are you doing it in 1.5 years? If you don't have a problem with weight but you still have a problem with fitness, how much time are you giving yourself? So those are your goal times. The second dimension is your progress review times. Okay, once you have a goal, okay, I want to get there in 1 year. I want to become a great student in 1 year. I want to become a great corporate executive in 1 year. I want to become a great worker in the next 1 year. And I need to get recognized for that. You need to start focusing on what do you need. So if you want to become something in a year's time, you need to have movements every 3 months. It won't happen that for the first 9 months you don't move at all from where you are, and suddenly in the last 3 months some magic will happen. That won't happen. So that is what I describe as progress review times. The third dimension of time management or time structuring is what I call as time as balancing times. So we play multiple roles in our lives, right? And you will have multiple goals in your lives at the same time. So you might have a business goal, you might have a education goal, you might have a learning goal, and you might have a fitness goal, all running together. So on a weekly basis you need to manage that. So progress review should typically happen every quarter, maybe every month, but balancing should happen maybe every week. And that's how the great people do it. They balance all their roles on a week-to-week basis, because that's the best way to structure it. But the most important time frame is what I describe as the next 5 minutes. And I talk about this inside the book, that it's the only time that counts in our lives, because all action happens there. And the reason for all failures, once people pick up challenges and once they tell themselves that I'm going to do everything else, and in good people, I've seen very good people with very good skills failing at at very basic tasks or things that should be very easily achievable for them. And the biggest reason for failure at that level is that people are not able to bring their challenge, which is something they're trying to achieve in a year, into the here and now. So I give this example. So if suppose I want to become president of a country, I need to define it in the context of the work I need to do in the next 5 minutes, because execution only happens in 5 minutes. Goals will happen in 1 year's time. I want to get to IIM Ahmedabad. I want to crack the CAT. I want to crack the GMAT. I want to get to a top B school outside. I want to get a triple promotion. What should I do in the next 5 minutes? The moment you start bringing it down to that equation, and if you can convert your goal objectives into targets, if you can convert your goals into targets, the difference between the two is goals are what you want from the world. Targets are what you will do to get it. So simple logic is, suppose I'm in a room in which there's a window, and there's a fire, let's say, in the room, and I want to get out of the room, and I pick up a pen and throw it at the window. I'll need to be very lucky to get the outcome. But if I pick up a helmet or I pick up a large table and throw it at the window, I don't need luck. So the critical aspect, the last component of the equation, is the ability to execute the right things, bringing the challenge into the here and now, changing your goal into targets. Targets are completely doable by you. So suppose there's a student who is weak at mathematics. His goal is in 1 year's time, I want to improve my mathematical thinking. What should be his target? His target should be that I should get to know 4,000 questions. In 1 year's time, if he wants to do 4,000 questions, his target then becomes, I need to do 10 questions today. So there will be a lot of reasons why you will never reach that goal, but there will be no reason why you will not achieve the target for today. And if you keep achieving the target today, you will always reach where you want to reach. And I always ask this question of people, that if you go out, wherever you are right now, if you go out on the road, ask the first 100 people 2 questions. The first 100 people you meet, ask them 2 questions. Ask them this question: where are you going today? And where are you going in your life this year? Ask them these 2 questions. Then take their phone numbers. And 2-3 hours later, you call them. Did you reach where you wanted to reach? The answer for all these 100 people will be yes, of course. And then ask them the second question. After a year, did you reach where you're trying to reach? You'll know that the answer is mostly no. And the reason for that is people are not able to bring the challenges into achievable targets. So what happens when you're going somewhere, you know exactly what the next step is. In the next 1 hour, in the next 2 hours, you will be able to consecutively do the things to reach your destination. But in the next 1 year, you're not able to do that, and that's the biggest reason for failure. So once that happens, it's all about executing excellence in the next 5 minutes. And as I read from the book says, the last paragraph of the book, as I define it, the equation to become a legend. And I'll let the book speak from here for me. And the book says, it's here in front of me, execute one great 5-minute period and there would be no change to your position in the world. Nobody would notice. The only thing that would occur would be that you would feel perhaps a little better about yourself. Execute 100 great 5-minute periods and you would end up having a great day. Nobody would notice, but you would start feeling better about yourself. So 5 great days make a great week. 40-45 great weeks makes a great year. Longer than most goal times you can think of. Hence, the achievement of success in the worldly context will happen here. 5 great years and you have a reputation. 10 to 15 great years and you become a legend in whatever field you have worked in. That's it. There is nothing more. Absolutely nothing more. Your challenges lie in front of you. Your journey starts now. Your journey to become a legend in your own life, in your own field, in your own challenges. It starts here, it starts now, it starts in your next 5 minutes. Greatness, as I always tell people, is executed 5 minutes at a time. You cannot live a great year unless you start doing it every 5 minutes. And that's the bottom line. Get your challenge into the next 5 minutes in terms of a target and keep doing it. Put your head down, focus on the work, keep getting it done, and you'll never know when you become a legend. It's as simple as that. So I'll let the book end this presentation, and this is what I talk about. Before I open this to questions, we'll have 5-7 minutes of questions which I can answer. In the final analysis, it is not about what you think, it is not about how you feel, it is not about what people say about you, and it is not even about what you believe and what you learn. It is only about what you do. So get out there, get going, get tracking, and start executing excellence as a habit in every dimension of your life. Excellence is not something that can be switched on and switched off. That I'm going to be excellent as a student and I'm going to be useless in my other dimensions of my life. No, that's not how you do it. Excellence is a 365-day, 24/7 activity. Excellence in everything. Excellence in the way you speak, excellence in the way you talk to people, excellence in the way you think, excellence in the way you read, excellence in the way you eat your food, excellence in the way you deal with people, excellence in your relationships, excellence in every dimension. You don't bring it out. I used to have a prof at IIM Bangalore, one of the greatest management profs in India, Professor Preetham Singh, and he used to tell us this mindset at a college, where he used to say कि अगर हम झाड़ू भी लगाएंगे तो दुनिया में सबसे अच्छा झाड़ू लगाएंगे. If I sweep the floor, if I pick up a broom and sweep the floor, I'll do it the best in the world. And that's the mindset you bring to your life, and see how everything changes. For more information and for more structuring and for deeper structures, you can of course read the book. The links are available here. You can buy it off the McGraw-Hill website also. If you have any questions at this point, I would be happy to take them. But I hope I've been able to give you a perspective of what it takes to make you great in your own life. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Otherwise, we can just move on. Maybe I'll give you a final message in case there are none. Any queries? You're free to type in your chat box. You come to me directly. So there was this question which has been asked of me. In the meantime, you can go ahead and ask me more questions if you want. But there was this question which was asked of me, that how do you define success? I mean, in today's world, a lot of times success is misconstrued as the person having more money or the person having more fame. So it's not necessarily always that. Success should be seen typically in terms of the number of people you have impacted in your life. And the more impact you give on people, the money and the fame and the name, those follow. So the bottom line has to be, the bottom line to success is to do your work well and do it excellently. And you know, once you start doing it, you'll start realizing that you have you can build an excellence habit inside yourself, And once you start realizing that, as you know that story, there was this brilliant architect who was building a monument, and during the building of that monument, what happened was that there was some issue with one small feature in the monument, and this architect was standing right in front of that monument and looking at that point and trying to be he was very worried about that. And one of his colleagues, one of his juniors, came up to him and said, "Sir, why are you so bothered about this?" And the answer that the architect said was, the answer the architect replied with was that I'm not comfortable with this error that I have made. And this guy said that, his colleague said that, why are you so bothered about it? There's such a small error, nobody will notice and nobody will come to know. And the answer, which is what brings out the point of excellence I was making, the answer that he gave was that I'm bothered because I know, and it's enough for me that I know. So you'll realize that the great people live to their own standards of excellence. They don't bother about what others think about themselves. Bring that thing into your life, and you'll start seeing what's happening in this thing. So Shivam is asking this question: do you believe in destiny? I mean, there are other variables too that decides the result other than our efforts. Yeah, but you cannot be unlucky all the time, Shivam. So if a person says that I was unlucky throughout my life, it does not happen. Luck will even out. So there is destiny involved, of course, in everything we do. But anyway, destiny and predestination is something that nobody has been able to prove and nobody has been able to disprove. So how should you live your life? The answer to that is you live your life telling yourself that irrespective of what happens, whether there's destiny or predestination or not, I'll believe that I'm in control of my life. Right? So Himanshu is asking this question, that I have a belief that I did not get good marks in my engineering, and can I still make it to an IIM, top IIM? Do I have the possibility to crack in IIM ABC? This negative belief always hinders me in working hard. How can I change my belief? So Himanshu, one of the things that you need to do, and one of the things the great people always do, is they dissociate the work from the results. So Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic, you will see, and I've written an extract where at the end of 2015, Djokovic says that my focus or my entire logic of my year and my day is to become the best I can be. Right? And whatever results that come, whatever outcomes that come, I'll accept it. So one of the problems that we have as youngsters, when we grow up, is that we are too focused on the result. So in your context, for example, talking about IIM ABC, IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, given the fact that if you are a general male IT engineer and you don't fit into the gender diversity and the background diversity of that, then in that situation, what should be the way you look at it? Why do you want to get to IIM ABC? Is IIM ABC your goal, or is something larger your goal in life? That's the question you need to ask yourself, right? So the whole idea is, I'm just coming to your question, Anish. The whole idea is that you create your challenge. Okay, my objective is to come to the top of whatever field I join, whatever field I work in. And if IIM ABC is going to be the route for it, I'll try to do my best to get there. If I don't get it, does that mean I'll not reach? I'll give you a small example. Suppose I want to go from Delhi to Mumbai, right? And decide I'll go by flight. and for some reason I am not allowed to get into the flight, does that mean I'll never go? Right? So you actually have, see, the moment you start becoming better, Anish is asking this question, do we have some ray of hope of sorting family problems? The moment you start becoming better at who you are, the moment you start living a champion's life, most problems will start sorting itself out. Because the moment you start living the moment, you'll start realizing that you can actually handle everything in your life. Right? Fine. So that's about it then for today. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, there will be more books from my side on this, but right now I'm focusing on this only. Shivam is asking me, do you plan to write a book on Gita or something? There are a lot of components of Gita. In the practical aspect, I have actually integrated into this book. And it's about reading so many texts, etc., and bringing it down into clear pictures for you to actually work on. Right? Thanks a lot. What are you afraid? See, a fear of maths is something, as I said, if you can know 4,000 problems in maths, the challenge is the next 10 problems only. Right? So the answers are there. The answers are there. I'm quite sure you'll be able to find the answers to all the questions you have inside the book. Read it for more. The feedback I'm getting from people who are reading it is that people are reading it second time, third time now, because it's giving them so much inputs to think. Read it. I'm quite sure you'll find a lot of value in what I've talked about. Thank you. It was a pleasure from my side being with all of you. Thanks a lot, and for taking out the time. I know it was a weekday, and it was not just a weekday, it was also an afternoon time and during a weekday. So I appreciate the fact that a lot of you came and spent so much time with me, and I hope I've been able to give you something of value. And as I said, read the book for more information. You'll get your answers. Thank you so much.